Chosen one. Lately, something has been happening in the quiet, in the shadows of your sleep. A name whispered, a sound that has no source, a voice calling from beyond the veil. And maybe you woke up questioning your sanity. You dismissed it as just a dream. But let me be clear, this is not your imagination. This is not random. This is divine communication. Heaven doesn't knock on everyone's door, but when it does, it knocks in code. And if you've been hearing something you can't explain, you were meant to find this message. This video is not entertainment. It's not a theory. It's a spiritual confirmation, one that your soul already recognizes. Because when angels speak, they don't use megaphones. They use echoes, vibrations, sounds that only the spirit can interpret. If you've been hearing this in your dreams, it's because heaven is urgently trying to reach you. So don't scroll, don't blink, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal 5 specific dream sounds. Each one a heavenly code only the chosen can receive. You didn't come here by accident. You were led here by sound, because heaven knows. You're finally ready to hear. Before we dive in, if this already stirred something inside you, like this video, subscribe if you haven't yet, and comment 99 below. Because 99 is the number of the one sheep heaven leaves the 99 for. It means heaven sees you. Heaven is coming for you. Let's begin. There's a moment, quiet, almost fragile, when your name breaks through the silence of a dream, not shouted, not spoken by someone familiar, but whispered. A whisper that somehow feels louder than thunder. A voice you can't place, but your soul responds instantly, as if it remembers a sound it's been waiting for its whole life. Chosen one. If you've ever heard your name in a dream, clear, soft, from nowhere, you need to understand. That was not your mind playing tricks. That was heaven summoning your identity, not your personality, not your role in this world, your true name. The one written in places human eyes cannot see. The whisper is not random. It's a spiritual roll call, and only a few are even awake enough to hear it. This sound pierces time. It passes through layers of consciousness, breaking past logic, memory, and noise, to reach the deepest part of you, the part that remembers who you were before the pain, before the betrayal, before the world told you who to be. When heaven whispers your name, it's not for comfort. It's a call to alignment, to assignment, to awakening. You might feel it before you hear it, a tingling in the chest, a rush of warmth, a moment where everything feels still, as if time is waiting for your response. And here's the truth most people miss. When heaven whispers, it's not trying to be quiet. It's trying to see who's still listening. The volume of God's voice does not change, but your sensitivity does. Chosen one, you are being tuned. Heaven is testing your spiritual frequency. The whisper is like a divine seed, planted in the soil of your dream state, waiting for the moment you remember it while awake. Because once you remember the whisper, you can never live the same. It marks a shift, from existing to living with purpose, from reacting to moving with revelation, from wandering to walking in authority. Do you know what else this whisper means? It means that the spiritual realm has recognized your readiness. It means you've been seen, you've been studied, and heaven has decided now is the time to activate what's been buried inside you. That's why after hearing your name, everything in your life begins to feel different. Some people fall away. Opportunities dry up. You begin to feel uncomfortable in familiar places. That's not punishment. That's purification. You're not being abandoned. You're being prepared. When your name is whispered, it's because the next chapter requires your full attention. No distractions, no illusions, no sleepwalking through life. This whisper is a spiritual alarm, and only the awakened can hear it. I have called you by name. You are mine. Isaiah 43:1. That's not poetry. That's a divine, legal declaration. Heaven is claiming ownership of your soul, because something in you belongs to the eternal. And here's where it gets deeper. When your name is whispered, it's not just about identity, it's about timing. The whisper doesn't come early. It doesn't come when you're not ready. It comes when everything in your life is about to shift, when the angels are aligning events in the unseen, when the spirit realm is opening doors that no man can shut. This is why, after the whisper, you might face sudden confusion or unexpected opposition, because the whisper is a signal to both heaven and hell. Heaven calls you forward, but darkness panics because it knows you're about to wake up. And once you wake up, you become unstoppable. So if you've ever heard your name in a dream, don't ignore it. Don't overthink it. Honor it. It means you are not forgotten. You are not lost. You are not just surviving. You are being summoned into a destiny that's been waiting for you, and your spirit has finally responded, not with words, but with recognition. Chosen one. This is just the beginning, because once your name has been whispered, the next sound you hear could change everything. Stay with me, because what comes next will shake your spirit awake. Chosen one. Have you ever heard a sound in your sleep so pure, so delicate, that it felt like it didn't belong to this world? A bell ringing, a single chime floating through silence. Not loud, not chaotic, but otherworldly, like a sound that came from eternity itself. If you've heard bells, chimes, or distant ringing in a dream, you weren't just sleeping. You were standing at the edge of something sacred. This isn't just a peaceful detail. It's not just a dream symbol. It's a spiritual announcement, a declaration from the heavenly realm, delivered through vibration. When bells ring in the dream realm, something is shifting in the unseen. It's the sound of dimensions realigning, portals opening, angels drawing near. But here's the mystery most overlook. These bells are not calling you to come. They're declaring, it's already begun. Yes, when you hear bells in a dream, you're not preparing for something. You're already in it. The heavens don't ring bells for maybe. They ring when something has been released, when your name has passed through divine councils, when your next season has been unlocked. And yet, here's the twist. Most people sleep through it. They wake up and shrug it off. They forget the sound before breakfast. But you remembered. You're here. Because your spirit knows. That bell wasn't just sound. It was summoning. In ancient times, bells were used for one reason: to signal that the environment was no longer ordinary. Bells meant sacred ceremony. Bells meant the divine is entering the space. Bells meant pay attention. Something is descending. So when you hear it in your dream, that means heaven has entered your atmosphere. But it goes deeper, because bells don't just announce presence. They mark transitions. They're used in realms of power to separate the common from the holy, the old chapter from the new, the past from the destiny. If the sound was soft, like wind chimes, you are being invited, gently. It's the kind of sound that only souls in alignment can perceive, a nudge from heaven to walk towards something new, with wisdom, with stillness, with reverence. But if the bell was deep, loud, or came in waves, that's a spiritual alarm. It means time-sensitive revelation is being downloaded. You are being awakened quickly, urgently, because there are instructions with expiration dates attached. Chosen one, not everything God gives you will wait. Some doors close when ignored. Some breakthroughs vanish if you don't move when the bell rings. And this sound you heard in the dream, was your notice that now is the moment. Here's what this sound often means. You've entered a thin place where the veil between heaven and earth is weaker. Angels are close, closer than you think. Instructions are on their way. Old cycles are ending, whether you're ready or not. You are stepping into sacred timing, where obedience unlocks acceleration. Let's go deeper. Because you didn't just hear a bell. You were being spiritually calibrated. Your soul was being tuned to a higher vibration. That sound was realigning your frequency so that what's meant for you in this new season can find you. You are not who you were a year ago, or even a month ago, and that sound is heaven's way of telling you. The realm around you has shifted. Adjust, move, respond. Sometimes after hearing bells in a dream, people feel strange the next day, like the world looks different, like time feels slower or faster, like they're being watched. And you are. But not by men, by angels, by destiny itself. Because once the bell rings, you can no longer hide. You can no longer pretend you didn't hear it. It becomes your responsibility, your awakening, your turning point. So the next time you hear a bell in a dream, don't just remember it, honor it. Wake up and ask, what is heaven shifting in my life right now? What instructions am I being given? What cycle just ended without warning? Because bells don't wait. They don't repeat themselves endlessly. They speak once and expect a response. And those who don't respond stay stuck in chapters that no longer exist. But you're here. You're aware. You're not just dreaming anymore. You're standing in the threshold of sacred timing. So stay alert. Because the next sound you hear might not be a bell. It might be something even more supernatural. And it won't be a call. It will be a command. And when it comes, you'll need to be ready to obey. Chosen one. There are moments when heaven whispers, but then there are moments when it roars. And if you've ever heard thunder in a dream, not ordinary thunder, but a sound so massive, so primordial, so cosmically deep, that it seemed to echo from the bones of the universe itself, then you weren't just dreaming. You were being shaken. Spiritually, prophetically, urgently shaken. This is not the whisper of alignment. This is the roar of divine disruption. Because sometimes, to wake up a soul that's been buried under layers of pain, layers of fear, layers of delay, heaven has to roar loud enough to crack the shell around your destiny. This roar is not meant to scare you. It's meant to unleash you. When thunder invades your dream space, it is not a symbol. It is not poetic. It is power on the move. It means that something buried in you is no longer safe staying hidden. It's too dangerous to remain asleep. It's too sacred to keep waiting. The roar is a spiritual quake, and its only purpose is to break whatever's been blocking your emergence. Let's go deeper. That thunder you heard, it wasn't weather. It wasn't environment. It was announcement. Something was being torn open in the spiritual realm. A door, a veil, a dimension, and you were standing in the epicenter of divine momentum. Some chosen ones hear this roar during moments of deep exhaustion, others after betrayal, or in seasons where everything feels silent. And then, boom, the sound breaks in like a violent wave, and your spirit knows instantly, that wasn't human. That wasn't just sound. That was a shift. Why? Because roars don't come to bring messages. They come to release something. They are sounds of spiritual labor, where your next season is being pushed into the earth through sound. This is why you might feel strange after the dream. Shaken, off balance, like something inside you got rewired overnight. Because it did. The roar often comes right before your spiritual elevation. It's what God uses to awaken the sleeping warrior inside you. You don't train for war in silence. You train when heaven thunders and says, "Get up. You've stayed low for too long. The world is about to feel the weight of your anointing." And here's something terrifying, but liberating. When you hear the roar, it doesn't just wake you up. It alerts everything around you, seen and unseen. The enemy hears it too. The atmosphere hears it. And they know you've just been activated. It's why resistance often shows up right after. Why people you thought were for you start acting strange. Why doors that were open suddenly slam shut. Because what the roar reveals, the enemy tries to contain, but it's too late. Because once your spirit has heard heaven roar, you can never again pretend to be ordinary. You can never again play small. Something eternal got unlocked, and it's now flowing through your life like a current you can't stop. This roar is the sound of divine breakthrough. It shakes strongholds. It ends spiritual droughts. It pulls your identity out of hiding. It says, "Chosen one, you're no longer waiting for the moment. The moment has come for you." But here's the danger. Some hear the roar and go back to sleep. They wake up and say, "What a weird dream." Maybe it was just a storm. No, that storm was summoning strength from inside you. Strength you didn't even know was there. So don't go back to sleep. Don't go back to who you were before the sound came, because that roar didn't come to visit. It came to transform. Chosen one, let me say this. When heaven whispers, it's mercy. When heaven roars, it's movement. And when heaven roars in your dream, it means your silence is no longer safe. Your calling is no longer on hold. Your power is no longer optional. Your purpose is on the clock. The thunder came to wake you up, because you are about to walk into a moment that changes everything. So stay close, because the next sound you hear might not be thunder, it might be fire. Chosen one. Have you ever found yourself inside a dream, not chaotic, not noisy, but filled with a sound so beautiful, so magnetic, that it felt like it was playing from inside your soul rather than around you? You looked around, but there were no instruments, no choir, no visible source. Just music, pure, floating, weightless, almost holy. That's not ordinary. That's not subconscious background noise. That's the language of heaven. And if you've ever heard music without a source in your dreams, you're not just experiencing sound, you're receiving spiritual therapy, a kind of healing no earthly medicine can provide. Because while human music reaches the ears, heaven's music goes straight to the wounds the world can't see. This sound isn't composed with instruments. It's woven into eternity. It exists beyond time. And when it touches you, it restores the parts of your soul that pain tried to erase. You see, when heaven plays music over you in a dream, it's not for entertainment. It's for alignment. Your spirit may have been crying out in silence, under weight, under spiritual pressure, under attacks no one else could sense. And instead of words, God sends melody. Because sometimes your breakthrough doesn't come through a voice. It comes through a vibration, a resonance that heals what language could never reach. Chosen one. This kind of music often comes after you've been in spiritual warfare. When your heart is weary, your faith is tired, and your identity feels distant. But instead of a rebuke, God sends you a song. And not just any song, but one that only your spirit can interpret. It's not in a key you've heard before. It's not in a language of earth. It's in the sound code of your original design, a heavenly harmony that recognizes you and reintroduces you to yourself. What does this mean? It means God sees what you've endured silently. He sees what you've buried, what you've prayed for, but didn't have the words to explain. And so heaven speaks through music, to hold what words would drop. Sometimes the music makes you weep in your sleep. You wake up with tears on your face and don't know why. Other times you feel an overwhelming peace, like a heavy weight was removed. But you can't explain what changed. That's the evidence. That's how you know it wasn't just a dream. Because what touches your spirit stays long after your eyes open. This sound is not random. It is precise. It is divine. And it is often a sign of restoration. Restoration of your emotional equilibrium. Restoration of your spiritual balance. Restoration of your internal authority. God is using melody as a mantle. He's wrapping you in divine covering. He's filling in the cracks left by heartbreak, by rejection, by confusion. It's why this music doesn't feel like anything on earth, because it wasn't made here. It's made of light, of grace, of sound waves that carry assignment and healing at the same time. And when you hear it, heaven is not just showing you beauty, heaven is preparing you for elevation. Music without a source often precedes a shift in your life. New levels of favor, new realms of influence, a fresh wave of clarity. But here's the mystery. The melody doesn't come to announce what's next. It comes to make sure you're strong enough to carry it, because promotion without healing becomes a curse. And God won't send you into new territory with old wounds wide open. So the music comes to seal what the last season tried to fracture. That's why you might wake up feeling lighter, like something sacred passed over you. It did. And the melody? It was more than a sound. It was a spiritual scroll, delivered in harmony, signed by heaven, that your destiny has been acknowledged and your recovery has begun. This is how God covers his chosen. Not always with thunder, not always with fire, but sometimes with a song only angels know the name of. So if you've heard this kind of music, don't dismiss it. Don't forget it. Write it down. Honor it. Because it was a divine visitation. One that speaks not to your ears, but to the part of you that's eternal. And chosen one, if heaven is singing over you, it's because something holy is forming inside you. A new version of you is being birthed, quietly, but powerfully. And the next sound you hear might not be a melody. It might be your purpose speaking back. And now, chosen one, we arrive at the sound that isn't a sound, the final signal, the most overlooked, the most mysterious, and perhaps the most powerful. It's the silence. But not just any silence, not emptiness, not void. This is sacred silence, the kind that doesn't make you feel alone. It makes you feel watched, held, examined, prepared. You've felt it. In the middle of a dream that suddenly goes still, where the colors seem brighter. The air feels heavier, and your heart starts beating with a strange awareness, as if something is standing near you, but saying nothing. Chosen one, don't underestimate that moment, because when heaven goes silent in your dream, it's not because God has nothing to say. It's because your spirit is being downloaded. Heaven is not always loud, God is not always dramatic, and angels don't always speak in words. Sometimes they bring presence, and presence alone carries revelation deeper than any spoken prophecy. That's the moment where your mind grows restless, but your soul feels anchored. You might not hear a single word, but when you wake up, you suddenly know something. Something has shifted, something has settled. That's how sacred silence works. It bypasses the brain and speaks directly to your spiritual DNA. In that silence, you are being calibrated to heaven's frequency. There's a reason God didn't use thunder, didn't use a voice, didn't use music. Because what he was giving you was too pure for language. He wasn't just talking to you, he was writing on your soul. The silence is where God gives clarity without confusion, answers without questions, peace without conditions. You might wake up and not know why you feel strong, why you feel calm, why fear suddenly lost its grip. It's because in that silence, God gave you a deposit. And that deposit was spiritual strength for what's ahead. Chosen one. Do you want to know what's terrifying about this silence? To the enemy? It's that it makes you unshakable. Because while the world trains you to respond to noise, heaven trains you to respond to stillness. The silence is where strategies are planted. It's where heaven equips you with inner blueprints, not for today, but for what's coming next. This is not a break in the dream. This is the core of the encounter. It's like walking into a throne room and realizing the king is already looking at you. No speech, no crowd, just you and majesty. In that moment, every lie breaks, every false label falls off, and every anxious voice in your head goes quiet. Because divine silence speaks louder than 1,000 sermons. That silence says, I trust you with stillness. I trust you with mysteries. You don't need to hear me to follow me. And chosen one, that's what separates you from the rest. Because the world craves volume, noise, constant stimulation. But heaven knows, only the mature can handle the silence. Only the awakened can discern the weight of stillness. So if you've ever had a dream where everything paused and a holy presence filled the air, but nothing was said, don't dismiss it. Don't rush past it. That was the deepest revelation of all. Because in that moment, God wasn't just informing you. He was transforming you. Silence isn't the absence of God. It's the fullness of His trust in you. That silence is what will keep you calm when chaos comes. It's what will guide your steps when instructions run out. It's what will anchor you when everything else shakes. You weren't dreaming nothing. You were standing in the presence of everything. And now that your spirit has been saturated in that stillness, you'll never again need constant signs to know you're walking right. Because once heaven has spoken to you without speaking, you become someone who walks by revelation, not by noise. And chosen one, that silence wasn't the end of the message. It was the beginning of your next assignment. Because the most powerful voice is not the one you hear. It's the one that remains with you. Long after the dream ends, stay close. Because now that the silence has spoken, something holy is about to break open. And it won't be quiet. Chosen one, you didn't just watch a video. You walked through a spiritual threshold. Each sound you've heard in your dreams wasn't random. It wasn't noise. It was revelation wrapped in mystery. Heaven has been speaking, not in the way the world expects, but in the way only the awakened can discern. You heard your name whispered, because your identity is being reclaimed. You heard bells and chimes, because the atmosphere around your life is shifting. You heard thunder, because your breakthrough is no longer waiting. It's coming through force. You heard music with no source, because heaven is healing what no one else could see. And you felt the silence, because God was trusting you with instruction, too holy for words. This is not for the masses. This is for the remnant, the few, the ones heaven calls by vibration, not validation. And if you felt this in your bones, if something inside you stirred, burned, broke open as you listened, then you are not just dreaming. You are being summoned. You are being marked for deeper sensitivity, for higher responsibility, for divine clarity in a world drowning in noise, because the next chapter of your life won't be led by logic. It will be led by what you hear when no one else does. Prophetic instructions, angelic warnings, divine confirmations, not in public places, but in your dreams, in your sleep, in your stillness. So be warned. You can't go back to ignorance now. You can't dismiss what you've heard. You've been activated. And when heaven activates you, everything changes. You see differently. You walk differently. You speak differently. Because you're not guessing anymore. You're being guided. And what guides you is not outside. It's within. It's the echo of God's voice in your spirit, calling you deeper, higher, closer. Chosen one. This is not the end. This is your beginning. So let the world sleep. Let them mock, doubt, forget. You don't need noise, because now you hear heaven. And the storm that's coming, you're not afraid, because you already received the map. You already heard the instruction. In the dream, in the silence, in the song. You've been equipped in the night to command authority in the day, so don't shrink, don't second guess. Walk forward with fire, because you've heard what others ignore, and now you carry what others can't explain. You've been chosen, you've been marked, and now you've been awakened. If your spirit is still vibrating from what you just heard, comment below, I hear heaven. Let that be your declaration. Let that be your signal to the angels, to the atmosphere, to the storm, that you're not blind.